Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Open Mic here on WJR Radio. I'm your host, Johnny Kane, and always a pleasure for me. Anytime I get to welcome in our next guest, that is Cooper Schoenberg, student at Indiana University, on track to graduate in 2026, if I'm not mistaken, majoring in sports media. Coop, how you been, brother?
I'm good. Currently doing a little summer internship out here in the Big Apple, concrete jungle where dreams are made of.
Okay.
Absolutely loving it. Not doing the same internship as my fellow co-host Carter Lutz, but he is also out here as well. So we're having a blast. Really, really loving it and enjoying our time out here.
Yeah, very good. For some maybe newer listeners to the show, you mentioned your co-host Carter Lutz. Tell us about the podcast because it's interesting stuff. Obviously, you guys are buddies. You guys don't go to the same school, but as you guys kind of build your foray into the sports broadcasting world, you guys launched your own podcast that we can see some of those clips on sportscaster.com. How's it been going?
We started off with one back our junior year of high school, which is 4.5 years ago. Crazy to believe now. And we kind of just stuck with it. And when we got this opportunity to work with Sportscaster, we jumped on it right away. And now we have what is Live and Uncut, presented by Cooper and Carter. And it's a sports podcast, but mixing in what Sportscaster offers for everybody. And when we're not interviewing prominent Detroit sports figures, we're talking sports, sometimes a little pop culture, kind of just back and forth banter. But primarily, we are getting people that are typically upcoming sports broadcasters like ourselves that we can relate to, like the Daryl Barnes interview, which I highly suggest everyone go listen to. And it's just kind of learning about what makes them tick, how they got to where they are today, what they did, all the hard work and effort that they put in. And then we've been fortunate enough to interview people like Dusty May, head coach of Michigan basketball, and who I got to interview with, who we'll get into in a little bit. But it's been a lot of fun getting to interview typically these prominent Detroit sports figures.
I know that when you're getting going, especially when you want to pursue sports broadcasting as a career, as a life. Um, People say, well, you got to get reps, you got to do this and try to get involved in as many things as possible. And it's, well, I've got my internships, I'm a sportscaster, I have my podcast going, I'm doing interviews, which we're going to get to here with people who are working in the profession currently. It's a lot. Like there's a lot to digest, there's a lot to tackle, um, but that's the beauty in it. I mean, there's really not a lot of time to just kind of rest, put your feet up. It's like you're always attacking the next thing, trying to schedule the next guest, trying to learn more about the industry. So I give you guys a lot of credit because the podcast is good, as you got a nice plug in for the show. And I know obviously you're plugged in on everything that's happening with Detroit sports, even when you are studying abroad or completing internships out in New York. The interview you did this week. With Jason Dizik, who's a guy that I know, live game producer. We've worked together on Pistons telecasts for the last decade plus now. Also worked together doing Tigers telecasts. He's a Michigan guy. How did the interview go, and how much did you learn about kind of the ins and outs of what a live game producer does within the world of sports?
I think with any interview, you never want to set expectations. You just kind of want to take it, you know, one question, one answer at a time, something like that. And I think that Carter and I have had a lot of great interviews with you, probably being number one, that original interview, and Tim McCormick and Dusty May, and again, Daryl Barnes. All these guys are awesome. Dizik might have been my second, if not first, favorite interview. This guy had a story for everything. He's a hometown hero, in my opinion. Grew up right in Farmington Hills, ended up being a Chippewa at Central Michigan, and kind of just stayed in the Metro Detroit area, and now has been doing his thing for I
Yeah.
think 20 plus years with both the Tigers and the Pistons, and he is unbelievable. Every story he had to share, from growing up watching George Blaha to now working with George Blaha, everything with him was kind of a full circle moment. And him and his wife, big philanthropist, starting a fund for, I believe it's up and coming broadcasters like ourselves, for a tuition based charity. So they're awesome doing that. He's awesome doing the live production. Everything he had to say was just so interesting to me.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I don't know if I'll tell him that he's up number one potentially on the list because I know I won't stop hearing about it. But you're right.
It's close.
He's a wealth of knowledge. His name's Jason Dizik. He's a proud Chippewa alum. Does give back to the university quite a bit, and does what he can to try to pay it forward to the younger generation of aspiring sports broadcasters like yourself. So, without further ado, let's hear Cooper Schoenberg's interview with live game producer Jason Dizik from FanDuel Sports Network Detroit.
Sportscaster, what's going on? Cooper Schoenberg here, and we are blessed. I am blessed to have the opportunity to sit down with none other than Jason Dizik. Mr. Dizik, how are you today?
I'm great, Cooper. You can call me Jason. They have a lot of names for me in the truck, but Jason will work.
Jason will do. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. It's my first time. Well, not my first time doing a remote interview, but I just moved out to New York. I know you're still in Michigan. Wish we could do this in person, but I just moved out here, so I'm out here.
We're in New York City or upstate?
New York City. Just got an internship right in the Murray Hill Midtown area,
Oh, awesome.
and then living in the West Side. But it's new for me, being pretty much the only East Coast guy, and I wish I had you out here because I'm with all these Knicks fans, and I'm the only Pistons fan. So it's pretty annoying to have to deal with them.
We'll give them a hard time about their coach at least.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We have one and they don't. But to not take too much of your time, we'll get right into it. So, doing a little research on you, you are a North Farmington graduate alumni, correct?
Yep, but way back when dinosaurs walked the earth in
Yeah,
2004, I
right.
graduated.
Come
Yeah.
on, get out of
Yeah,
here.
it's a great day to be a Raider.
Uh-huh. And so, kind of what Sportscaster is all about, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, just kind of giving a platform to up and coming, sportscasters, be it broadcasting or production or editorial, just kind of giving them a platform to show off their work. And what better example to have than you? That's why I am so excited to be interviewing you today and kind of wanting them to be able to look in the lens of you. Just, basic question to start out. While you were attending North Farmington, when you were there, was there any type of production jobs that you were doing, be it for a class studio show or working with some of the sports teams? And then, kind of to follow up before you answer, did that help you kind of immerse yourself at Central Michigan following your graduation at North Farmington?
Yeah, I mean, North Farmington and TV10 are the reason I think I'm doing what I'm doing. I was so fortunate when my parents moved to Farmington Hills. We just so happened to be in the zone for North, and they had a TV studio with a mobile production truck. So I was able to go out, and Harrison was still around then, and they were still winning state championships. So, like, I remember my sophomore year calling games with Drew Stanton and Marcus Woods, who went to Missouri, and Akeem Shabazz, who went to Michigan State, and Terrell Mayberry, who went to Bowling Green. So I was very fortunate to get to do those games, and that basically laid the foundation for everything I was able to do at Central, including I started networking while I was at North. I was very fortunate. There had some great teachers, great mentors who connected me with people in the business, and that's why I'm so passionate about trying to help the next generation, because I wouldn't be where I am without the help I got along the way, especially early.
And so at North Farmington, did you actually, call some games on play-by-play or color?
So I was primarily the play-by-play guy. I didn't do all the football. They had some retired professionals come in to do most of the football, but I did basketball, uh, both boys and girls, hockey, baseball, softball, soccer. I called swimming events like they were a horse race because I had no idea what I was doing. So it was fun. I got to figure out what worked, what didn't. I mean, I guess as far as I was concerned, everyone just said, "Oh, it was good." I'm like, "Well, what does good mean?" At that level, and then when I got to Central, I realized what I really liked was the editorial control because there really weren't producers at North at TV10. So I liked shaping the storylines and writing. I love to write, but it did give me a little bit of experience on that side of the camera. I know it wasn't at the level anywhere close to the level where I work now, but I do have a little more empathy for the announcers because I understand it can be really hard when you're trying to figure out what to say and someone's talking in your ear and you're trying to listen to your analyst. And there's definitely a lot that you have to process in real time. So learning as much as you can about every single position on the show, I think is a great way to begin your career.
And at Central Michigan, with that editorial work, was that working with a studio show like an anchoring news job, or was that with working with some of the sports teams, or kind of all the above?
Sure. So I started as a producer of a segment on it was called Central View. It was the news magazine show. So I, would work with the athletic department to identify storylines and then go shoot and edit packages with the announcer. And then I started working on what was called MHTV Sports, which was before the advent of ESPN3. So I was really able to produce men's and women's basketball starting my sophomore year. They used student producers. There was a professional director. Shout out to Chris Ogazali, one of my mentors up there, who directed those shows. And to Kurt Wilson, who was the play-by-play guy. And I worked with them and got real hands-on experience. And then while doing that as the sports director, I was fortunate that Central's football team started to get good. My freshman year was Brian Kelly's first year. So I started working on Comcast local shows. ESPN started coming up there, and I was able to network. And I was able to thread the needle of asking lots of questions and being really engaged without being too annoying, I guess. So they started calling me to do other stuff. But the Tigers got good, so Sunday Night Baseball was in Detroit a lot. And then I started working at Michigan State on ESPN and ABC broadcasts. Got to know more people, started going down to the Palace to help out when they needed additional freelance crew. So I really just dove into everything I possibly could while I was there. And when I graduated, I was really, really close to moving to Bristol. I had really good relationships with some of their operations producers who handle more of the technical logistics stuff. And they said, we know you want to do content, but this isn't in. And it was the summer of 2008, so Disney put a hiring freeze on. So that I was basically on the 1 yard line, and that got shut down. And about a month later, I got a call from the Pistons that their graphics producer was being promoted to game producer as the package was transitioning from a split between Fox Sports Detroit and the Piston Television Network to airing on FSD, but only being produced by the team. I was lucky. They called me. The job was never posted because it was a freelance thing. And, now I'll be starting year 18 with the Pistons in the fall. So, and this is my 17th summer with the Tigers. So I'm really blessed that, the old saying that luck is when preparation meets opportunity really, kind of held true as I reflect on my journey.
So being with them for 18 years. So you started back in 2008. And with the Pistons, that was kind of the end of the great era of the kind of
Yeah,
going
don't
to
tell
work.
anyone that my
Yeah,
start coincides. We don't need that getting out.
it's hard. And you've been through the ringer starting off, I'm sure, with Fox Sports, moving to Bally and now FanDuel Network. And so starting in 2008 and now we're in 2025, really 17 years in between, there never really was a great Pistons season. 2016, obviously the 8 seed going against the Cavs, then 2019, both getting swept, and then that was with the Bucks. This year really had a chance against the Knicks as the 6th seed going down in 6 games. Did you notice kind of a contrast, a difference in workload where some years were a little lackluster and this year it's just like, boom, it's the first really good year in 17 years?
I mean, honestly, our job is easier when the team's good.
Yeah.
There's less stuff you have to do. Like the hardest I worked was probably I don't want to pick on them, but those Tiger seasons 19, 20, 21,
Yeah.
as the rebuild was really
Yeah.
really starting, because baseball, there's so much downtime. Basketball, you're covering the game, and that was before the advent of the pitch clock too.
Hmm.
So we really had to be creative in coming up with ways to make the games entertaining because the product on the field wasn't where viewers had hoped it would be. With the Pistons, it's this year was so much fun.
Yeah.
And anyone who says they expected this is lying to you, because everyone kind of thought, okay, if all the dominoes fall right, maybe they can be a play-in team.
Yeah.
But the job that Trajan Langdon and JB Bickerstaff and all of the assistants did with this group was great, and it was such a blessing to be around as these guys were joining the team over the last few years and get to know them a little bit. And you really root for them because they are really good kids. And I say that when I started, I was on the younger side of the people in the travel party, and now I'm the old man. So no, but it's so fun, and getting to know these guys, like I said, a little bit. They're all great, and I'm so happy for their success. And Trajan is so smart. Every time I talk with him, I'm so impressed. He's going to do what's best for both the short term and long term health of the franchise, and we'll see what the roster looks like in the fall. But it's going to be another very fun winter here in Detroit.
Look, as a fan, it feels good knowing we got someone who really cares about the team, the fans, and the organization as a whole. And to kind of ask a fanboy question now, we talk about the success of the Pistons, but now let's go to the Tigers. And you just mentioned that when the teams are down and losing, especially in a 162 season like baseball is, with the Tigers, obviously so many, 2019, 2020, 2021, just like you just mentioned, but then last year, kind of that team of destiny, making the run from late July all the way to September and then losing in the ALDS to the Guardians. How much fun was it to be a part of that team?
That last month and a half was a whirlwind. It was unbelievable. I was fortunate enough, I got to produce the games in that Tampa series.
Yep.
And that Thursday game, Jason's call was just, it was one of the greatest calls in Detroit sports history. It's up there with some of George's and, in 89 and 90 and '04 on the radio.
Yes, he does! Somebody alert NASA! A torque bomb for the ages!
It was unreal. And my wife actually gave me the best advice that I got during that run, because it was stressful too, right? There was a lot of pressure to do those. So I did the Rays series, and then I did pre-post for the White Sox series. So I got to do the post game when they clinched, where we sent Johnny and Jason into the clubhouse. And my wife said to me, she called me that Friday afternoon that they ended up clinching, and said, "I know you're stressed, but you're gonna have a great show, and I just want you to take a second and look around and see what you get to be a part of." And it's something that it's really good advice, because I'm sure you've talked to people who can talk about how as awesome as our jobs are, they're still jobs.
Yeah.
And they have the things that people don't know about that you have to deal with, but and pressure, right? There were a ton of people watching these games, and you don't and I feel that we owe it to our viewers to do a fantastic job. And it was just, that night was so much fun. Just getting to be a part of chronicling the stuff that when I was a kid, I would sit home and watch. And now to be a small part of bringing that to the next generation of fans is something that I don't take lightly.
And now look at us sitting atop not only of the AL, but of the entire MLB. And I remember when we clinched against the White Sox, kind of what you just said, and Benetti's call was, "This is actually happening." And I thought that was just the cherry on top. So perfect.
From the 0.2% chance in August to that night was
amazing,
an incredible ride.
And it gives you so many storylines, like the guy with the pumpkin seed, right? All these featured stories to be able to throw into the broadcast. So much fun. Now, I don't want to take too much of your time, so I'll leave you with two questions. And the first being which, you and your wife, Emily, I'm aware you have a scholarship for broadcasters at Central Michigan. Really kind of a basic, vague question, but wanted to ask you, why did you feel that it was imperative to start something like that? And what does it mean to you to see where it started and to now where it is today?
Sure. So Emily and I met at Central,
Mhm.
and we have a 6-year-old son, Evan, who's
Yeah.
just the light of our lives,
Yeah.
and he wouldn't be here if it weren't for Central. So Mount Pleasant's always had a very special place in our hearts, and we were fortunate to be able to work with the university, help out both with time and through some small donations, and we decided that Moore Hall, which is where the broadcasting school is really where we our family wouldn't exist without that.
Mhm.
So we decided we wanted to do something to honor that. So we started a small scholarship, helping students out a little bit each year, for a student going into sports broadcasting. Because, like I said earlier, without the people helping me along the way, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah.
And she's an advisor for her sorority up there. We're both very involved with both academics, athletics, and her Greek life. We just want to do a little something because, like I said, I'm rambling now because I'm getting the vapors. But it's special. It's a special place, and we love taking Evan up there for homecoming, and he gets to run around on the football field, the after the game and do all the fun stuff that makes you fall in love with a campus like that. So it's just special for us, and I've been fortunate, been able to hire a few of the recipients of the scholarship, and I just really love helping people. The joke around here is people helping people is what makes the world go round, and you can't. We need more of that, I think, nowadays.
Well, that's awesome. And to be able to, work in the same state that you grew up in, and not only grew up in, but also, going to college right
Mm-hmm.
in Mount Pleasant at Central Michigan, and now kind of full circle being able to take your 6-year-old son right up there and not the same experience you had, but to see where his mom and
Slightly
dad
different, yeah, slightly
slightly
different when
different,
we
but
go
see
up
where
there.
his
Yeah.
mom and dad
He
went to
had
college.
he. There are pictures. There may or may not be pictures of him as a 9-month-old in the Bird. Which,
Wow.
if you know Mount Pleasant, you know what the Bird is. But yeah, he gets a different experience, but he gets a lot of culture when we go up there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm sure he's got the two best tour guides in the world. Um, Final question, kind of a fun one for you. Again, we talk about, you attended North Farmington for high school, growing up in Michigan, getting to work with the Pistons, in 2008, but everything before then, obviously winning the championship in '04, going back to back in '89 and '90. And who was with the team throughout all of that? Well, George Blaha, who of course you work so closely with. Now, growing up for you, getting to watch him on the call and obviously Greg Kelser on the color, what is it like? Kind of a full circle moment, I got to imagine, growing up watching them and their amazing emphatic calls and now working right alongside them. What's that like?
Yeah, it's surreal because we're really not just coworkers. I mean, we're friends.
Yeah,
So we talk almost every day during the season. The three of us have a text thread going in the off season about news around the league, and I'll see each of them a few times over the course of the summer. We're all very collaborative. We have really good conversations the morning of the games to figure out how we want to present and set up the storylines. And we have better times on the road having a red pop or two, either after a game or the night before a game,
sure.
and just hearing them share stories about their journeys to this point is incredible. And I'm also fortunate with what I get to do. I'm around Ben and Rip and Chauncey. Well, not Chauncey, not so much now, but they're around the team. And like going out and having dinner with Ben Wallace one night when we were in Denver, like I'm like, you were my favorite player as a
So
kid. Like
surreal. Oh my God.
it's so cool, and it's truly a blessing, and it's something I like I said, I try not to take for granted ever. And it's I just hope that the people who are watching this that want to do this, I'm here to help. I want to pass on the guidance and the lessons and the all the things that I've learned from others that got me here. Because as my buddy Kirkland Crawford from Central, who is the first African American sports editor in Free Press history, used to say, if you don't share the knowledge, it dries up. So
Well, look, I can keep asking you questions about the Pistons in production and everything for hours, but again, don't want you to be late and don't want to take too much time out of your
well,
day.
do you want me to like share something embarrassing about Johnny? Like we got to get him a little bit on this, right?
So, and obviously, I'm sure you're familiar with Johnny joining here. Anything you can give the fans, anybody watching, kind of throw him under the bus and make him blush a little bit. What do you got for
No,
us?
I wouldn't do that to Johnny. He's the best, man. What it is about him that you all love watching on television, his affability, his fun-loving nature, his ability to laugh at himself, like that's him. There's nothing fake about what you're seeing on TV with Johnny. He's the real deal. He's a really good friend, and I'm so glad that he connected us to be able to do this, and that he's giving back to the next generation as well, because it's something that we're both very passionate about.
Well, look, I know that you called games in high school and you talk about your work behind the camera, but screw that. You got the voice, you got the spiel, the shtick. I think you got to give it a try one time.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I don't know. I'm on my best behavior right now, and I have a tendency to try to get the laugh and maybe not think about what's the most appropriate thing to say at that time. So I think I love what I do, and I think I'm here for a reason. So I think I'm gonna try to stick to that. But thank you.
Well, look, if you're on, we'd love to see you and watch you, but you're on right now, right here, and we can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day speaking with me and sharing all the amazing advice you have for all those sportscasters out there. Jason, thank you so much. Cannot don't appreciate it enough.
All right, thanks, Cooper. Good luck and enjoy Manhattan.
Thank you.
I love listening to that. Two of my favorite guys that I deal with on a regular basis, that being Cooper Schoenberg from Indiana University, and also Jason Dizik. I had an opportunity to work with closely doing Detroit Pistons telecasts, also the Detroit Tigers as well. But a fascinating glimpse into a day in the life and the work put in to go from Farmington to Central Michigan to Detroit leagues, covering the NBA. Nobody does it better than Jason Dizik at FanDuel Sports Network, Detroit. Very good stuff there. Don't go anywhere. Open mic continues next here on WJR.